I wanted to share a quick comparison today between the older version 1861 Speedmaster in this Broad Arrow and the new one 3861 Sapphire Sandwich. So very quickly, let's go over the differences between this edition of the Speedmaster and the regular Moonwatch of the time. So the case is exactly the same. The thickness of this one is 14.2, and that's mainly because there is an iron plate behind this case back to protect from magnetism. There's no writing on the case back. That's one difference. You have Heslite crystal. You have this gray dial as opposed to the black one from the regular Moonwatch. Broad arrow hands, vintage Omega logo. So if I start this, you could see it's a really nice logo. And obviously the steel bezel. So very close. The case is exactly the same. So when we talk about the wearing experience and the lug to lug, very similar to the old Moonwatch of the era. This new 3861 version, they shortened the lug to lug by almost a millimeter, but they also changed the shape of the lugs. So I'll go into that and show you how that changes how the watch wears. This is the Sapphire Sandwich. I did have the Heslite. I think the Heslite is more, I guess, preferred by enthusiasts. Has some nice distortions, but I think it looks a little bit more bubbly and bigger on the wrist, so I went for this Sapphire Sandwich. Other than that, it does have the step dial now, applied Omega logo at the top, see-through case back, and a thickness of 13.3. They didn't have to put in the iron plate anymore because the watch is anti-magnetic with that silicone hairspring. So side by side, if we look at them and the difference in the lugs, so aside from the length, you can see that the one on the left, the Broad Arrow, the lugs, they kind of extend and flare out a little bit, whereas this one on the right, they kind of come in, which makes this watch wear a little bit more squatty and square on the wrist, and this one look a little bit more elongated on the wrist. I'll show you what that looks like. So here it is on my wrist, and then closer you could see the elongated lugs here. From further away, still wears really well. Obviously you get the distortions. When the light hits these hands in certain angles, they look really nice. In this light, you tend to lose them a bit, so legibility not as good on this one. Now, if we look at this one, legibility is excellent. Black against white against black. And then on the wrist, see, very close, but wears a little bit more squatty and square. So it looks, to my eye at least, smaller on the wrist, and here it is from far away. However, both wear really well. If you're concerned with bigger watches, I think both work. The one on the right will look a little bit even smaller. Now, if you look at the lugs this way, you can see, let me just turn this around, the case looks elongated here, whereas on this one, you could see it kind of sharply moves down. Lugs are a little bit flared and they shape down, so that will add to that visual look of it being smaller, aside from the length itself. I don't think you could go wrong with either of these. I think it's really what you want. You know, this harkens back to the vintage 1957. It has some vintage cues. The dial looks almost faded, whereas this is a little bit more modern, but still looks vintage. A lot of vintage cues as well. So it's pretty much, you know, do you go with this one? Great wearing experience, fully modern with a vintage look, and wears really well. Great bracelet. or do you go with this one? A lot cheaper, but a lot less common and can be really beautiful and vintage looking. So let me know in the comments what your preference is. Thank you.